2024 is drawing to a close, and well, what better time than to drop my top 10 favourite movies of this year. It was quite a difficult list to put together, but let's take a look at what I came up with. So is it just me, or is it at the end of every year I say the same thing? This past year has been somewhat lacklustre for film releases. Am I expecting too much from Hollywood these days? Am I expecting miracles and we're just not getting them? It's just not happening. But yeah, so I've worked my way through the films that I've seen this year. I have come up with a top 10. I won't be seeing anything more this year because of family stuff going on. It's way too busy to get to see anything. So any of these latter releases that I've not seen, like Sonic 3, etc., I won't be seeing them this year. So I know that. So yeah, I've whittled it down to 10. Obviously, it was quite difficult. There are going to be some omissions that you may will probably make it into your top 10, in fact. And there's no doubt there's films in here that you won't even consider putting into a top 10 yourself, and maybe one or two that you've not even seen yourself. But there we go. So I will say that there were a couple of choices that I really did consider putting onto this list, that being two documentaries, one being the Christopher Reeve story, Superman, and the other being Am I Racist, from Matt Walsh. I didn't really want to go down the documentary route. However, Am I Racist is very much a sort of satirical look at, and you know, there's a certain element of filmic element to it. But again, I wanted to focus primarily on films, if that makes sense. Big budget, narratively driven story, action. Do you know what I mean? Those sort of films. I'm talking about films that I would come back to, films that I would watch again and again, that have a sort of rewatch value for me more than anything else. So without further ado, let's get into this. Okay, so let's do it. Okay, so number 10, 10th spot, and I'm quite surprised that I put this at the 10th spot, this low down on the list, and that is Deadpool and Wolverine. Yes, you know, Marvel's only released this year. Here's a film that I have a lot of fun with. It has a rewatchability factor to it for me, in that it's very easy to consume. I like the humour. I like the digs at Marvel and where Marvel at with what they're doing. I like the fact that it's R-rated and this sort of thing. Yes, but it isn't a Marvel film. That's the thing. It's not really a Marvel film. It's more of a Fox film, dressed up as a Marvel film. Feige clearly said to Ryan Reynolds and whatnot, look, you can fly the MCU banner all you want, you just can't play in our playground. And that's exactly what this film is. It has no impact on the bigger events of the MCU. It has no impact going forward of the MCU. It's a standalone movie that wants to poke fun at itself, at these characters, at the MCU, and it does a fine job of doing it. I do think that some of the jokes will age badly, and things like that, but for the most part, it's a film that I had a lot of fun with, and I have watched a few times. That's my 10th spot. In 9th spot, I'm going to jump to France now. Yes, a French movie. We haven't had a spider film for some time, a killer spider film. And lo and behold, 2024 gave us two. It gave us the films Sting and Infested. And Infested is the French spider film. And it's about these young people, individuals that get stuck in this big apartment block kind of thing that becomes infested with these killer spiders. And mayhem ensues. What can I say? I like creature features, and this film was very effective in what it done. Sting came out first. Sting was okay. Then this came out, and I was actually quite blown away by the creepiness and the nature of this film. Not only that, the setting was very good. The actual apartment block, it gave an almost web-like feel to it. Where it was set, it was very well chosen. This was a very good film, a very, very good film. I enjoyed it thoroughly. What can I say? Then dropping down to 8th spot. Now, I have an issue with A24 films. I'm not a big fan of A24 films. However, this year we saw the release of Civil War. Civil War. Now, I know that the trailers promised us something that the film was not. I went into the film knowing this because the film had come out already. I'd seen some of the reviews, so I went in watching it knowing that it wasn't what was promised by the trailers. But what I was given was a great character study of these news reporters transversing their way across a sort of war-torn American landscape. The horrors that ensue, the horrors that come out of your own indigenous people of a certain country, by which I mean Americans. Do you know what I mean? I don't mean like Native Americans or anything like that. By indigenous, I mean the people who actually live there, and the society being split apart and fighting one another, and the killings that are going on between their own, and the killings of foreigners and this sort of stuff. It was quite a shocking movie in that sense, carried by some really good performances by its main cast. It was a decent film. Then number 7, I put Dune Part 2. Yeah, Dune Part 2 came out. It took me a while to see this film. Dune's a funny one for me. I really enjoyed Dune 1. I thought it was a great film, all right? And by the time that ended, I was like, oh, I want more. But by the time Dune Part 2 came out, I resisted on going to see it. And that is a psychological issue with me, because as a young lad, I was very ill at one point. I was laid out on the sofa. And when I say very ill, I don't mean like on death's door in hospital. I mean, I was off sick from school, really sick feeling, being sick, whatnot. And my dad had put on the movie Dune, the original, and I was bored senseless. And that film, and the thought of that film, always brings me back to me and how I felt at that moment in time. And that's the problem I have with these Dune movies, is that I struggle to get past that. You mentioned Dune, my mind goes to that. So Dune 2 came out, took me a while to see it. I didn't see it in the cinema. I saw it eventually when it came out, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it was a great film. It is a great film. Denis Villeneuve, whoever his name is, you know, he's a very strong director, visual director, storyteller, you know. Yeah, great. Not as good as Blade Runner 2049, what can I say? But yeah, a thoroughly good film from Denis Villeneuve. Yeah, roll on Part 3. I'm sure I won't see that when it comes out at the same time either. But yeah, it was good. And then dropping to number 6 spot, or going up to number 6 spot, going up. Animated film. The only animated film this year that makes it to this list, and that is Transformers 1. Now, I'm a big Transformers fan. I grew up on Transformers in the 80s. You know, I've got all of the comic books from then to now. Everything that's been done spanning across Marvel, DreamWorks, IDW, sorry, whoever's released Transformer comics, Image at the moment, isn't it? Yeah, so the trailers for this film dropped, and I was a bit put off by it. I was a bit put off by the trailers. I didn't like the sort of comedic take that it took, this sort of thing. But when the film came out, I watched the film, and it works. I was blown away by it. I thought this was a fantastic animated movie at its core. You know, a great Transformers film. Yes, it delves into the more sort of Disney-esque kind of Pixar kind of humour kind of thing that you have in films, but it works for it. But it builds up to a solid crescendo, a solid ending, a fantastic finale that I'd love to see spread off into new movies. Yeah, solid film. Then up to number 5 now, and yeah, Michael Keaton. Michael Keaton's had quite a good year, actually. You know, I like Michael Keaton a lot. And, well, what can I say? He came out with Beetlejuice. No, it's not Beetlejuice, okay? Forget Beetlejuice. I switched that one off. I'm not a fan of Beetlejuice at all. Knox Goes Away. This is a film that came out in March, in America anyway. It's a film that stars Michael Keaton, that is directed by Michael Keaton, and it's a very small budgeted film, and it's about a hitman who's starting to suffer with a level of dementia, and he's only got so long before he completely forgets everything, before this dementia, is very fast acting, takes over, and he's got the opportunity to help out and his estranged son and get his estranged son out of trouble. And this is a solid film, and you know, I don't think it's been released here in the UK on physical media in any way, shape or form. It's pretty hard to come by, but this is a solid film, a solid performance by Michael Keaton. He gives a fantastic performance in this film, he really does. Hats off to him. And this is one of those films that on this list that I would say to you, if I was going to recommend any film on this list, probably because you've seen a lot of the others anyway, seek out this film and watch this film. It is very, very good. I have to quickly interject here because what I've only just realised in the editing of this video and finding a poster for this film, Knox Goes Away, that there's actually a different title to the film, A Killer's Memory. Yes, and also I've realised that this film is available on Blu-ray from Germany. So I have just ordered it, which is fantastic. But let's get back to that list. Okay, and then dropping down to number 4, Furiosa, a Mad Max saga. Another film I went into saying, oh, well, I don't need a non-Mad Max film. I want a film with Mad Max in it. I don't want a Mad Max less, you know, Furiosa, a Mad Max less saga. I was put off by the casting of Chris Hemsworth, who, to be honest, I don't think is, you know, the greatest of actors. I thought in the trailers the makeup on him looked a bit sort of cringy and fake and this sort of thing. But then I saw the film. And on first watch, I was like, it's a film of two halves. I really like one half of it. Another half of it I'm a bit questionable about because it's very narratively driven, unlike most of the other Mad Max movies, which are just sort of, they tend to be action-packed, action-based, and very little narrative. This actually gave us quite an in-depth story of the character of Furiosa, her history, and all this sort of a thing. And I watched the film 3-4 times, and each time this film for me just got better and better. It's like a fine wine. The longer you leave it, the more you know it gets better. And yeah, I thought it was fabulous. And Chris Hemsworth's performance, you know, I was wrong. I thought he was really good in it. I think he gave a fantastic performance. The makeup worked to turn him into this other character, so to speak, and that helped with it. Yeah, and it offers up some fantastic action set pieces that you do get from a Mad Max movies. CGI wise, yes, there's a bit more use of CGI in the film that I would like to have seen from a Mad Max film, but it's not too distracting. So yeah, there we go. That's that one there. Decent film. Number 3, Horizon, an American Saga, Part 1. Kevin Costner's 3-hour Western epic that I think hardly anyone went to see. Part 1 because, you know, I think Part 2 and 3 have been filmed. Part 4 is in post-production, or in pre-production, I should say. I don't know where they're going to come out or when. But, you know, I like Kevin Costner. I like a lot of his films, so it stood to reason that I would be seeing this one anyway, and he didn't fail to deliver. Kevin Costner isn't front and centre in the film. He plays a big role in the film, yes, but the story evolves around other characters as well. All these different stories going on at the birth of America as a nation, you know, the settlement of the Old West and this sort of a thing. And it's a solidly made movie that I sat and watched in one sitting. I liked what I saw. I was intrigued by what I saw. And at the end of it, I wanted to see more. It was a solid film. Really was. Number 2. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Yes, the 4th film in the new era of Planet of the Apes movies. The first film in hopefully what will be a new trilogy of Planet of the Apes movies. Again, you know, what can I say about these films? They look fantastic. The special effects are amazing. The apes look great, and these are films that generally always focus more on story. They do give you a very good story with fantastic characters in it. And obviously here we have a film that's focused more around the apes than any humans, which we did get to at the latter part of the other movies anyway. But yeah, a solid installment into the Planet of the Apes franchise. Unfortunately, it doesn't bring the crowds. These films don't bring the crowds for some reason. I don't understand that. You know, you look back at Rise of the Planet of the Apes, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, and War for the Planet of the Apes, and these are 3 fantastic films. And I never understood why War for the Planet of the Apes people just didn't go and see. There's no reason for it. There's no... I don't get it, especially after how well received the other 2 were. These are all solid movies that deserve more accolades than what they actually get. So much so, I almost forgot about it. I almost forgot about adding it to my list. Seriously, I forgot that it had come out. And there's a problem with creating these lists. I don't keep note of what I've seen over the year. I have to go through a list of films released for the year and see what has come out to formulate these, you know, these lists. But anyway, so like I said, you'll notice that there are some films missing from this list that you may have thought that I would have put in. One of them being Alien Romulus. Alien Romulus is not number 1 spot. I will just mention that Alien Romulus is a film that on first viewing I really enjoyed. I'm a huge fan of the Alien franchise, and I think I was just blinded by the fact that we had a new Alien film from a fresh director that promised to be a sort of a return to form for the Alien franchise, and I was blinded by that. And on rewatches, the cracks in that film have shown themselves. It's a badly made movie. It's a badly made movie. It's nonsensical. The characters are crap. Anyway, and number 1 spot, I've got to give number 1 to Bad Boys Ride or Die, the 4th installment in the Bad Boys franchise. Okay, I can't say that I was overly enthused by this film. I didn't think 3 was fantastic by any means, so going into a 4th, I wasn't overly interested, but I sat down, I watched it, and I was blown away. I thoroughly enjoyed the film. It just felt like a return to form for this franchise, probably offering up one of the better films in the franchise, probably maybe the best film in the franchise. I would say it's a lot of fun. You know, I didn't know whether Will Smith could get past the slap incident that occurred, and I'm happy to say that he did with this. You know, himself and Martin Lawrence stepping back into these characters. What great chemistry these 2 have on screen with one another. It's very funny. It's an enjoyable film. It's probably the film that I've rewatched the most that has come out this year. Yeah, solid film. A solid film in my opinion. A lot of fun. And you know, that's what it comes down to really ultimately is the rewatchability of movies for me, okay? You know, there's probably films that, you know, that have come out that you could argue, you know, they're better written, they're better structured, they're technically speaking, they're far superior to some of these or all of these or whatever. But ultimately, it comes down to enjoyment, the enjoyment that I get from them. the rewatchability factor that some of these films hold for me, and that sort of a thing. And there we go. So that's my top 10 list for the year. By no means a list that I'm saying is a correct list of top 10 films. It's my top 10 films of the year. We all have differences. We all like what we like. We dislike what we dislike, and that's what it's all about. We have these different of opinions, and it's about being able to share those opinions in a respectful manner, without treating it like, oh, you know, I want to smash you in because my opinion differs to your opinion. That kind of football mentality that you get, that arises in a lot of circles at times. And yeah, it's just, that's nonsense in itself. But, you know, art's subjective at the end of the day. Film is art. And that leads me to just say, let me know yours. Let me know down below in the comments your top 10 if you wish. Either that, let me know what films, you know, what was your favourite film of the year? What's your least favourite films of the year? Let me know that also. I will say that normally I do the worst 10 films of the year. I'm not going to do that this year because I really don't want to focus on negativity too much. Very easy to get into that, although negativity seems to sell, and I think that I'm quite a negative person at times anyway. I will call out crap when I see crap, but I don't really want to focus on a video focused on the crap that came out over the past year, because there's a fair amount of it, to be honest. But yeah, so anyway, that's it, my top 10. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Goodbye.